Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the 2023 annual meeting of the stockholders of Vuzix Corporation. Please note that today's meeting is being recorded. It is now my pleasure to turn today's meeting over to me, Paul Travers, the President and CEO of Vuzix Corporation. Anyway, welcome everybody again. Thanks for participating today. Thank you and good morning, everybody. I'm pleased to welcome you to the 2023 annual meeting of the stockholders of Vuzix Corporation. Today's event will be held in a hybrid fashion, in person at Vuzix headquarters and virtually via a live webcast. With the ability to meet in person this year, we thought it would also be in the company's best interest to maximize the participation of stockholders regardless of their location by continuing to provide a virtual meeting option also. In any event, thank you very much to all of you for participating in our meeting today, either in person or virtually. On behalf of Vuzix today, we have in person myself, Paul Travers, the President and CEO, Grant Russell, the CFO, Ed Kay, one of our board members, Tim Harned, another board member, Azita Arvani, another one of our board members, and Eric Black, General Counsel and Corporate Secretary. Emily Green and Raj Gopal unfortunately couldn't attend due to flights and other things, but they are here virtually. In addition, Pete Jameson, the Chief Operating Officer, and Mike Lee, the head of our OEM business, with Philip. Can you pronounce your last name for me? Matkovsky, great. Who is the president of Movient Corporation. We're going to have a nice presentation, update on Vuzix, where we're going, how exciting the business opportunities are, and how that has been fortified with all of these new additions to the company. As an initial order of business, I will call your attention to the rules of conduct set forth for this meeting. These are available for viewing in the Files section of the meeting web portal on Vuzix website. If you need a copy of the annual report or the proxy statement, they're available online by the links provided and on the company's investor relations website. Stockholders, either in person or who have signed into this meeting using their control numbers, may submit questions through the messaging feature of the meeting web portal. Grant Russell, our Chief Financial Officer, will act as Inspector of Elections in the tabulation of proxies and ballots. Before reviewing the business of the company and responding to questions, we will conduct the formal part of the stockholders meeting. The Board of Directors has fixed the close of business on April 17th, 2023 as the record date for stockholders entitled to notice of and to vote at this meeting. A copy of the notice of this meeting, together with an affidavit that the notice was mailed on or about May 5th, 2023, to each stockholder as of the record date, at each stockholder's address as it appears on the company's record of the stockholder, will be filed with the minutes of this meeting. A list of stockholders entitled to vote at this meeting is available for examination by any stockholder desiring to do so. Mr. Russell has signed his oath of Inspector of Elections, and it will be filed with the minutes of this meeting. The count of shares present immediately prior to the commencement of the meeting indicated almost 60% of the outstanding shares of common stock of the company are present in person or by proxy. I declare that the legal notice of the meeting was given and that a quorum is present at the meeting. On behalf of the Board of Directors of the company, I would like to express my appreciation to all stockholders who returned their proxies. The first matter to be acted upon by the stockholders is the election of 7 directors, each to serve until the 2024 annual meeting. I will now entertain a motion with respect to this matter.
I hereby nominate Paul Travers, Grant Russell, Edward Kay, Timothy Harned, Emily Nagel-Green, Raj Gopal, and Azita Arvani for election as directors of Vuzix Corporation to serve until the 2024 annual meeting and until the successors have been duly elected and qualified.
I second that motion.
The following persons have been duly nominated for election as directors of the company: Paul Travers, Grant Russell, Edward Kay, Timothy Harned, Emily Nagel-Green, Raj Gopal, and Azita Arvani. Since no other stockholder has duly notified the company that he or she intends to nominate a candidate for election as a director as is required by the company's bylaws, I declare the nominations closed. Proposal number 2, The next item of business is to consider a proposal to ratify the selection of Freed Maxick CPAs PC as our independent public accounting firm for fiscal year 2023. I will now entertain a motion with respect to this matter.
I hereby move that the appointment of Freed Maxick CPA PC as the independent registered public accounting firm of the company for the year ending December 31st, 2023 be ratified.
I second the motion.
Proposal number 3, the next item of business on our proxy was to have the company's stockholder cast a non-binding advisory vote regarding the approval of the compensation disclosed in this 2023 proxy statement of the company's executive officers. Proposal number 4, the next item of business is to consider a proposal to approve Vuzix Corporation's 2023 Equity Incentive Plan as listed in the annual report.
I hereby move that the Vuzix Corporation 2023 Equity Incentive Plan be approved.
I second the motion.
I will now bring to vote the election of directors and the ratification of the appointment of independent registered public accounting firm. The polls are now open for balloting. Again, if you have not voted or wish to change your vote, you may do so now through the voting feature of the meeting web portal. Any stockholder who has already voted and does not want to change their vote does not need to take any further action. At this time, if anyone needs assistance accessing the online link for voting, please submit a comment through the messaging feature on the meeting web portal. I don't know, Ed. The online voting will now be closed. I declare the polls closed, and I request that the Inspector of Election report on the tabulation as soon as it is available. Or if you're set, oh.
Yeah.
Now will the Inspector of Election please report the results of the balloting?
A total of 37,794,861 shares, or 59.79% of eligible voting shares, is represented at the meeting either by proxy or in person. The proxies and ballots have been counted, and greater than the majority of the shares voted for each of the 7 nominated directors were cast in favor of the election of such directors. Proposal number 2, the proxies and ballots in connection with the proposal to ratify the appointment of Freed Maxick CPAs PC as the company's independent registered public accounting firm for the fiscal year 2023 has been counted, and 98.22% of the shares present in person or by proxy have voted in favor of the proposal. 1.77% of the shares present in person or by proxy have voted against the proposal, and less than 1% of the shares present in person or by proxy have abstained for a vote on that proposal. Proposal number 3, the proxies and ballots in connection with the non-binding advisory vote on executive compensation have been counted, and 84% of the shares present and in person or by proxy have voted in favor of the proposal. 16% of the shares present in person or by proxy have voted against the proposal, and 1.14% of the shares present in person or by proxy have abstained from a vote on the proposal. Proposal number 4, the proxies and ballots in connection with the proposal to approve the Vuzix Corporation 2023 Equity Plan have been counted, and 78.88% of the shares present in person or by proxy have voted in favor of the proposal. 21.11% of the shares present in person or by proxy have voted against the proposal, and less than 1% of the shares present in person or by proxy have abstained from a vote on the proposal.
Thank you, Mr. Russell. I declare the nominees for election as director have been duly elected, and the appointed of Freed Maxick CPAs PC as the company's registered public accounting firm for 2023 has been duly ratified. The Vuzix Corporation 2023 Equity Plan has been approved, and the results of the non-binding advisory votes on executive compensation have been noted. That concludes the formal portion of the meeting. We'll now move on to management presentations. I will start with my presentation and business update, followed by Mike Lee, the head of Vuzix OEM business unit. Next will be Philip Mikowski, president of Movient, a wholly owned subsidiary of Vuzix. And finally, Pete Jamison, our chief operating officer, will wrap up with a discussion of Vuzix operations. Shareholders can submit questions either online during the presentation or at the conclusion in person or by the messaging feature of the meeting web portal. We'll address the submitted questions after the presentation is done, if that's okay. So now let me move on to the presentation. Give me just a second here. Takes a moment to set up and bear with me. Well, that didn't take all that long, did it? So let's see here. First of all, I think 2018, 2019 was the last time we had an annual shareholders meeting in this building. So I kind of took that as a reference point to talk about the things that have happened since then to today and how exciting the charge forward that Vuzix is experiencing these days. And it's a good data point because if you guys will recall when you were here, I know there was a few folks in here at least that were, there's portions of this building that like you couldn't fit 5 people in, and we had 100 people in that spot when we were here that long ago. So let me move forward from that perspective. First of all, Vuzix has grown from about 50 employees then. Previous to that, I think we were down, like we started the company at 10. To today, there's approximately 100 employees in Rochester, New York, and a grand total of 120 plus employees around the world that are working for Vuzix today. It's super exciting, the growth that we're seeing. We've grown overfilling our current headquarters. If you had a chance to walk through this building and the building tour, I'm sure you saw along the way that there's some pretty tight spaces. If you look on the plant floor, especially, which is where the lifeblood of the company comes from, is where we're making all of this product. Those guys are elbow to elbow in that floor space. So clearly we need some room for expansion in that regard. And that's part of what the reason for this new facility is across the street, is to help us with that as we go through our footprint. So back then we maybe had 50% utilization of the building. Today we are packed to the gills right through the whole thing and looking to expand into the space next door. The manufacturing floor has gone from 30% utilization to, it's effectively right now, we're building not 24/7. We could run a second and third shift. Sometimes we do run a second shift, but it's working around the clock effectively. Vuzix has more than doubled our shipping and receiving space to accommodate the growth. I'm sure you saw some of the pallets that are getting ready to go out the door. That's a portion of stuff that's shipping out in this quarter for us. It's really exciting to see stuff coming off the plant floor, going out the door, onto a truck, into some customers' hands. And our place is doing that like a crank these days. We've added a new general manager at first, but he's our chief operating officer with Pete Jamison. And I'm going to try to not steal too much of his thunder. I talk a lot, right? And so I'll probably say some things that he should be saying, not me. So I apologize up front for that, Pete. It's a big deal for us. Vuzix is starting to scale, and to do that well, you need people who know how to be organized, who can get things done, who can get a whole ship of people rowing in the same direction, and Pete's amazing at that. We've grown our patent portfolio from literally, I think, 50 patents a couple years before this, 100 back then, to well over 300 today. We have now wholly owned subsidiaries in Germany and in Japan. We re-entered the defense space in June 15th, 2022, which is super exciting for Vuzix. It actually was one of the bigger parts of our business before we sold it. And the exciting thing now is, now that we're back in the game, a lot of those defense folks are happy to be able to be doing business with Vuzix now, and it's easy to open up those doors for us. We completed an investment with an option for acquisition of this micro LED company. And although I can't say a whole lot about it, I will tell you that it is game-changing technology that will allow us to make the most efficient micro LEDs of any micro LED on the planet, I believe, today. The facilities are just coming up online. I again, I can't say a whole lot other than to say it's a really exciting time for this company as they start to move forward here through the rest of the year. We acquired Movient. We've been talking about Vuzix's business consists of kind of three legs of a stool. One of them is our standard products. Another one is our OEM optics and engines and the likes. The thing about that part of our business, the OEM part of our business, there's nobody, except maybe Vuzix, that's shipping smart glasses in volume. They're starting to, and they're looking for sources of supply and the like. So that was the second leg of our stool. We have our standard products. That's a great story that's unfolding here. We have our OEM business, again, a great story that's unfolding here. And we said all along, a pair of glasses by itself doesn't solve the problem. You need software to run behind it. And that's what this Movient operation is all about. These guys are making warehousing technology part of the supply chain. It has great legs. And I'm going to let Philip talk about that also in more detail. So we acquired those guys, and they're a SaaS-based business that's got recurring revenue, and it's going great. Let me just say that. And then construction started a bit ago here on the facility across the street. Supply chains. The only reason why that thing's not up and running right now actually is because the power systems and the transformers that are required to get enough power into the building to turn on all those clean room hoods and everything, those transformers are delayed from coming because it's long lead items that are stuck because of copper problems in supply chain. But that will all be rolling here in the third quarter. Super exciting. So from the perspective of the business itself, the revenue generating components of the business itself, which is really why I think we're all here. Well, actually, I'm here because I'm having a lot of fun, but on top of that, making money is the name of the game ultimately here. And I'm sure you all saw that our Q1 was a pretty stellar first quarter, 65% year-over-year growth. I will tell you that our second quarter looks every bit as exciting. I can't get into all of the details because we haven't closed the quarter yet, but let me say it's going to be a darn good quarter for Vuzix. It will be record unit sales. I'm very sure of that. Top line, I can't wait to see how it comes out, but it's going to be a nice jump too. So revenue, generally speaking, in the first half of the year is accelerating for Vuzix, and the back half of the year looks even better. All these companies are finally rolling out their programs and stuff, and I'll fill in a little bit more here in the next few slides. So we also feel that, without doubt, if every single quarter beats last year's quarters, you're going to have a significantly bigger year than what you did the year before. So our 2023 year should be an exciting year for Vuzix. We're growing our smart glasses pipeline. I'll let Pete talk a bit more about this too. We're building our channel strategy out better than what we've done in the past. We're getting a lot more legs out there to help us build and grow the business. I'm seeing companies come online buying in decent volumes. Never heard of these companies before because they're buying through our channel partners who are experts in this field. They're not just box movers. These are folks that know how to sell. They know how to sell smart glasses and wearable technology products, and we're going through their markets with us, and our margin models and everything hang very tight. We're in great shape with them being there, and it's really building up our sales base at the same time. Again, I'll let Pete talk to that. Our OEM pipeline, it's amazing to me what difference a year makes, especially when you got guys like Mike Lee on staff helping you make it happen. But I believe that in the long run, our OEM business will be the tail wagging the dog at Vuzix. When you're in almost everybody's devices out in the marketplace and they're selling them in the millions and hundreds of millions kinds of unit volumes, it will run over the other billion-dollar businesses that you're running. But hey, they're all billion-dollar businesses, and I'm going to try to share a little bit more about that coming up too. So the company's experiencing RFIs and RFQs. These are companies that have this, I really need this. So they come to you and they say, can you give me your thoughts on whether or not you can do this? That's a request for input. So you respond to that, and then they come back, can you quote that, please? That's the formal process of actually getting a quotation to them and ultimately signing contracts. And we have stuff in the works with a ton of companies that go up and down that stratus. And then finally, on the SaaS-based enterprise pipeline, that's also growing. So you think about revenue stream contribution this year. It's not just going to be smart glasses, although I will tell you it will represent the lion's share of our revenues this year. But backfilling that is going to be our OEM business and our SaaS model, which is recurring revenues. What's nice about that is once you have the customer, every year they re-up, they re-up, they re-up. And the cost to re-up for the software side of it to Vuzix, the margin is, we issue a purchase rec, they issue a purchase rec. We take the money and there's really no cost other than the ongoing support. So that's exciting. So the revenue side of our business is picking up. But when you invest in a company, you really would like to know why and how come these guys are going to be aren't they just going to get run over? I can remember more than once sitting across from an investor saying, those Google guys, they're going to crush you at this game. Google, a couple of months, 3 months back, announced that the Google Glass Enterprise Edition is no longer in the marketplace. A lot of that was because of Vuzix they can't compete with. And look, we like the Google guys. I will tell you, they got multiple efforts going on inside of Google, but their enterprise efforts have gone miserably for them for lots of reasons. And they've gone well for Vuzix for all the reasons that they did wrong, we did right. So this next set of slides sets about the differences between us and everybody else in the who, what, where, why, and when for the reasons why Vuzix are going to win in this industry. So first of all, we're a technology company with going on 26 years of experience. Not to underestimate that. You've got a company that's spending billions that are competing with us, but they don't have guys that have made a single pair of smart glasses ever, let alone shipped one that was successful. Vuzix is good at making products that solve problems. We're a technology company that's focused on the supply of wearable computing. It's the future of computing, and it's the core pieces of that Vuzix is supplying into today. It isn't just about, don't think about Vuzix as an M400 smart glass guy that's going to go be in warehouses. Yes, we are going to do that, but it's everything else underneath Vuzix that's operating in billion-dollar markets, and we've got the best in class around most of it. Augmented reality, optics and display engines for the enterprise, defense, military, consumer, and broader markets. That's a big bucket of stuff, but let me say it has common themes. Wave-guided optics, micro-LED display engines, all of the things that we've been working really hard to use in our standard products are now coming to the fore for the OEM side of our business with all these companies that are trying to solve these problems. The interesting thing is it takes billions of dollars to have an on-staff optical engineering company group that can build waveguides and build them in volume. And so you have all these companies that aren't the Metas of the world that are looking, because they have to be in the space. The future is going to be wearable computing systems. And to be in that space, you need access to the core technology to make that happen. And that's why our OEM business is so exciting right now. We've got the core technology that we've taken 26 years building into real product that solve real problems. So the stuff we make works, which is why the OEM side of our business is so exciting coming up. So what I tried to do here, and it's fairly unsuccessful, I think, but let me just make the point. In a snapshot, these are some of the important data points over the last 25 years that have happened at Vuzix that have been growing shareholder value. And I have to say, if you just pick one of them, that waveguide thing in the upper right-hand corner, one of our competitors just got bought for $500 million. Maybe it was a year and a half ago. $500 million. And all they did was design waveguides. They didn't even manufacture them. Vuzix designs them. We make the tools to build them. We can do it in high volume. This facility across the street will have capacities for millions of units on an annual basis. We have the whole package. Imagine what that's worth when you're comparing against a company that all they do is a design for a waveguide, that they used other companies' tools and manufacturing processes to build it. Oh, and by the way, in the end, the waveguides cost $150, $200 a piece in volume. How do you ever go into the broader markets when it's $300 worth of waveguides just for the waveguides? Everything else has to get paid for. So that's why many of these products that you're seeing coming out are like $2,000, $3,000 a piece. It's never going to be in the broad markets with those kind of price points. In any event, this snapshot, the Nokia licenses, Intel investment in Vuzix. You notice those orangish, maybe this works, these guys right here, these are all waveguide-based products coming out of Vuzix now. The M400's occluded, this was occluded, most of this stuff down here was occluded. That's not using waveguides. You can see our entire product lines are starting to shift in the waveguide side of our business, which is super exciting. That said, that M400 is the flagship for Vuzix today. It does a really good job in a lot of different marketplaces. Patent portfolio is growing. So the idea was to try to, at a snapshot, give a feel for the value contribution Vuzix has been making, the dollars that we've been putting to work, and how it's been adding to the shareholder value of Vuzix. I realize that it's frustrating to see our stock price where it is, quite frankly, when you know the size of the opportunities that we're playing in and how we're leading in the space. I believe that that will take care of itself with execution, and that's what Vuzix is operating on today. We're in execution mode. Part of the reason why all of these guys are here helping me build the company is to make that part of us now start turning the crank. So the total market opportunity for us, we consider the enterprise products, our OEM solutions, and the SaaS-based software models. How big are they going to be? Let's talk reality here first on the smart glasses. A lot of the industry analysts report it's going to be 2023 had $2 billion worth of business opportunity that happened in the space. And they add it up, and you look at the companies that they have on the list that made up that number. They got HoloLens from Microsoft. Well, in 2023, they stopped manufacturing HoloLens. They got Google Glass. Well, Google Glass is no longer selling products in this marketplace either. There's a list of companies, and the bulk of them are really not there. So if you look at the reality of the market, there is no doubt that they're projecting out here 20 to 50 times where we're at today. But where we're at today, I'd be surprised if it's between 50 and 100,000 systems that will be sold in 2023. That doesn't sound great. It's fantastic because what's happening now is the front end of that curve is finally here. And the guys that are making the right products are finally starting to roll them out into the marketplace. Ergo, our quarter after quarter growth that we're starting to see, year over year addition and growth happening at Vuzix. So if you look at these numbers going up to here, this represents a $2.5 billion business opportunity that is basically Vuzix's to take, quite frankly. We're the only guys that are doing it right. There's a handful of companies that are making stuff that sells a fraction of what we sell. There's maybe only one company that might come close, and I'm not going to mention their name, but there's just really two companies that are actually even in the fight in the enterprise space today. I will tell you that in the long run, though, the enterprise space is not where the big win is, although nobody would snide at a $2.5 to $5 billion industry. These guys, these numbers, we sandbag these a bit here. It's going to be massive. There's a few people getting it right, and Vuzix is one of them. $2.5 billion contribution just from our products business. Our OEM solutions business, this is emerging. 2 years ago, nobody was buying OEM waveguides from another person. Nobody's shipping OEM waveguides yet. That's happening, though. The ship is moving. There's so many companies coming to Vuzix from defense to I'm not going to take your thunder there, Mike, but the bottom line is this is touted to be a $20 billion business opportunity. That's what it be. It's a great big number. And this plant floor and the additions that we're building here are being put in specifically to address the growth that's going to happen in these spaces. And then finally, from a SaaS-based solution perspective, this is also a big opportunity. If you just think about warehousing in its own right, just it. I mean, what does our friends at Zebra do? It's like the $9 billion valuation company, and they do like a couple $1 billion a year in revenues. And they're just selling into warehouses. This movie solution, it's fundamentally pointed right at that space. But because of the way they're building this, it has legs to move in a lot of other directions. Plus, Vuzix has the largest number of ISV partners supporting our products, especially in the enterprise side of the business. Guys like TeamViewer are an awesome partner with Vuzix. They have a bunch of programs that they've been working on for some time now that they're starting to roll out. So they're not starting. Really poor choice of words, because I know everybody's been hearing, oh, we're in a proof of concept and they're going to roll out someday. They are rolling out. They're all rolling out today. And it's the reason why our revenues are climbing. One of them. Deployments are happening. We're in multiple distribution centers. It's accelerating. So these ISVs are generating a lot of good business for Vuzix. It's a big chunk of business ultimately, and Vuzix wants to be more and more part of the revenue streams that will come out of this. Number one, not just for the revenue streams, it's the glue that makes our products sticky in the marketplace. So where are we at today? The evolution of this industry. For 25 years now, analysts have been saying, oh, this year, $5 billion worth of stuff sold, and it's going to go out to, and it's always been going to the right, to the right, and to the right. As far as Vuzix is concerned, smart glasses for medical, just go Google it and see. If you don't follow us closely, we're working with like 8 major players that are delivering the solutions. Guys like Johnson & Johnson, et cetera. I mean, they're buying those solutions. There's not an hour of the day that goes by that our products are not being used in some operating theater somewhere. Proximie is one of the leaders in recording and remote support and training in the operating theater. They just came on board with Vuzix. Rods and Cones, another example. These guys are in literally thousands and thousands of operations have been used with their products. We're fundamentally part of stuff like Pixie Medical, who does knee surgeries and shoulder surgeries. The glasses literally do the measurement of the person's knee. When the knee is just right, they put the pins in, and it makes for a perfect operation time after time. This is no longer maybe, it's a proof of concept. The medical side of our business is rolling. Remote support, this is almost like falling off the turnip truck. You can run Teams on our glasses. You can run Zoom. There's customized software. We have partners that make some really cool stuff that allows you to even reach in, draw on your screen sitting here in the office. It's nice and comfortable. And the guy that's out in the field trying to fix the case tractor, he's seeing what he needs to do next with the nuts circled and the torque wrench requirements and those kinds of things. That just happens today, and it's part of the reason why our channel strategy works the way it does. You don't have to spend $200,000 doing a proof of concept anymore. The software works. It's just rolling out. This is a business that is no longer, when's it going to happen? Proof of concepts. It's the reason why our core business, again, is growing the way it is. Warehousing and logistics, COVID hurt this part of our business. When COVID hit, everybody went home. When you're home as a tech guy that's working on upgrading warehousing stuff, you're not able to upgrade the warehousing stuff because you're sitting at home, and it was a requirement for almost 2 years. 2.5 years before that, with some of our partners, we've been working with some of the biggest companies in the retail and supply chain business around the world. And now they're all starting, many of them, choice of words, many of them are starting not, let's kick the proof of concept off again. They are rolling out and moving product, putting them in their distribution centers, putting them in their retail outlets. This is stuff that's really happening. And then finally, on the OEM side of our business, it's brand new, a year old. But wow, I can't wait for Mike to share with you more. It's like I said, this will probably be the tail wagging the dog at Vuzix at some point. So it's well along in the adoption curve. I know everybody's like, well, when's Vuzix going to announce that big 20,000 unit order from this one? What's happening is the pot's getting hotter and hotter. If you're a frog sitting in our pot, you are going to be frog stew before you know what hit you. It's happening. It's going. The revenues are growing. And yes, you are going to see some larger deals. I'm very confident of that. But make no mistake, this ship is leaving the docks. The whole industry is. So we're positioned to win. I think you kind of get the theme of this. I'm almost ready to wrap up. Enterprise, logistics, medical, manufacturing, and it's our smart glasses core. That's a big part of that. And then software as a service for handhelds, wearables, and smart glasses. And then the industrial optical solutions and applications in OEM. We're positioned well in the defense. We used to, we shipped maybe 400,000 night vision gun sight systems to DRS and Raytheon as part of the weapon systems that they had. That was unfortunately 10, 11 years ago now, maybe, coming up on 11 years ago. These guys know that we know how to do this. They've seen what we've done in the past, and there is a huge need right now The guys that are supplying waveguides into the US defense space today have strong ties to the Asian manufacturing side of the house. I'm sure everybody senses the tension between Asia, China, and the US around that kind of technology being sourced from China as being a cornerstone piece of technology, and how the information systems in a military environment are used. And so having a US source of supply is critical, and that's what Vuzix can do. Not only that, we have done hundreds of waveguide designs. So these guys can come to Vuzix and say, well, I'm looking for this. And Rob Schultz, who's not here today, within 3 months, custom design, new tools made, it's produced and in production on our plant floor. Sometimes they want really hard stuff, so we have to do multiple iterations to finally get it right for them, but we have the ability to do that. If you go to somebody like our Wave Optics friends that got bought for $500 million, this is it. This is what you get. It's a 50-degree field of view gizmo. It looks like this. You have no other options. By the way, that's why they're not being the guys that are designed into a lot of these OEM opportunities, because one size does not fit all. Everybody's trying to get to the product that actually looks like people would want to wear. And most of our competitive waveguide companies just can't do that. Then in the consumer and the broader markets, Mike will talk a bit about this, of course, but we have this new platform. You can see that they look strikingly like a conventional pair of glasses. That platform can be put together a lot of different ways. The pieces and parts that are in that we are offering, and it's the critical components that we can manufacture in high volume at price points that you could put into the marketplace that people would buy products. You might imagine a cost of goods, and I'm not advertising this as our cost of goods. I'm just telling you that Vuzix can make these things really inexpensively. Let's say less than 20 bucks a piece, kind of a number. Kind of a number. I didn't say it was the number. The competitors cost 150 bucks a piece to manufacture them. When you're making a product that you want to have on the street for $399, how do you put in $300 worth of waveguides? It just doesn't work. So why are we winning? I'm sorry. That's a statement. It's not a question mark, okay? Vuzix is winning, and we are because we make disruptive technology in very large world-changing markets. We build products that actually go to work in the warehousing spaces today. Imagine giving a HoloLens, not to pick on our friends at Microsoft, but imagine giving a HoloLens to an employee and telling him that he's got to go pick parts out of a warehouse for 8 hours wearing a 2.5-pound gizmo that you got to strap onto your head that occludes your vision, even though it's see-through. It hurts to wear after an hour. It doesn't happen. It won't happen. It's why they're not getting deployed, and it's why they're not manufacturing that product today anymore. The enterprise side, it doesn't work. Our product, it's 2.8 ounces, the M400. We have people right now, they go to work at 8 o'clock in the morning, they put the glasses on. When their shift is done, the next guy takes the glasses, and he runs for the next shift, and then the night shift is using those same glasses with their own headband around the clock, 24/7 that's happening. The M400 and Vuzix smart glasses, like I said before, you can deploy them and they work. They actually solve a problem. It's not just a cool idea that's a science project. And the tech that's inside of our devices, because they've gone through all of that level of experiential, this is what you got to do to actually make them work. And the IP we've built around that is what's driving our winning strategy here at Vuzix. We built a strong foundation to support our expansive growth. That's part of the reason guys like Pete are here. Operations, manufacturing, sales, marketing across the company. We have the strongest set of independent software partners that help drive the stickiness of our products in the marketplace. We have an unparalleled combination of experience and industry knowledge, a seasoned leadership team. We have strong IP and technological know-how, upwards of 300 plus patents and patents pending today. US-based manufacturing in some areas is really a critically important piece of what we're doing. Flexible and customized turnkey OEM solutions. 3 months, soup to nuts, you can have a new solution from Vuzix. Innovative and disruptive technology roadmap that solves real problems from form to function. This sets us apart from everybody else in the marketplace. There's very few companies that have the ability to say all of this. except for Vuzix. Finally, manufacturing waveguides is going to be a very big piece of our business at some point. It's estimated that it's going to replace the phone. Smart glasses will replace the phone. Now start to add that up for a minute. How many phones get sold a year? It's billions of units kinds of numbers. You need 2 waveguides per pair of glasses. This thing shows that by 2028, we could be up to 50 million units on an annualized basis. That plant floor is designed to grow to that. It will be easy for us to crank that up even more. But you add up the numbers for this and the ability to do this at the price points that we can, it is a cornerstone piece of the future of the whole smart glasses AR space. Nobody else can do it for these kinds of price points. Nobody else can crank them out in the volumes that we can. Many of the competitors use off-the-shelf equipment. Off-the-shelf. It's kind of a crazy word for the semiconductor industry because nothing really is off the shelf, but these companies make customized equipment for nano imprinting. They cost many millions of dollars. You can maybe get through 70,000 pieces a year. It's why the cost of these things are so expensive when you're using that kind of equipment. We don't do that. It's all customized equipment for Vuzix, and it's going to crank in millions of units for Vuzix as we grow. Bottom line, this industry is no longer waiting in the winds. It's moving, and Vuzix is a key player in it. We've built a strong foundation for it. We're kind of using the analogy of what kind of battleship? That's a battleship. Let's just call it that. We've built a battleship, and it's got all the stuff that it needs to go win the war. So it's an exciting time to be at Vuzix. And the rest of the presentations that you're going to hear are all of the things that go around backing up this strategy and going after this bigger business. Mr. Lee, sir.
You put on.
That's all I get, yeah.
I'll drive. Great, perfect. Hello. How are we? Mike's good?
Yeah.
First, 25 years. That's an accomplishment. So Grant, would you stand up? Put the phone down. I know you're watching the stock price. Stand up, please. And Paul, please stand up real quick. And we just want to congratulate these guys. I tell you what. So it's not only these guys, but all the employees that have been dedicated to get the company to this place now where we have a platform, that battleship that was showed there. Can you imagine being an entrepreneur and all the things you have to deal with, all the short sellers we were talking about and all the conflicts and everything you have to overcome to have a successful 25-year company? I mean, that's an amazing, amazing American accomplishment. It's just really spectacular. So my area, or who I am, my name's Mike Lee. I've been working with Vuzix for a number of years. I've been in this industry, embedded technology industry, for more than 25 years. I've been working with Vuzix and watching Vuzix closely because, and just to make it simple, waveguides represent the last optical component in the chain before it goes to the eye. So if that efficiency is not there, you don't have a product. And that's what amazed me about the company. And so getting involved, I've had a couple of companies for this in this space that we were able to have some successful exits from those businesses. I think that finding Vuzix is like a little piece of gold for me that I can start to put my time and my effort in to build this OEM business, because here you had a company that over these years, over these 25 years, built this internal capability that now we can share with the whole market, not only for our own products, but for what everyone else is trying to build. Okay? If you want to know more about my background, come and talk to me. I'm around. So that's basically why I joined forces with Vuzix. Okay, next slide. Is it changing? Oh, here's our offerings. So one of the main reasons that I joined Vuzix was because it's a one-stop shop. This is very rare in our industry, meaning that a potential partner can come to us with an optical design or some kind of use case, something they're trying to accomplish. We then, because we have an optical design team here internally, can take that design and turn around something that they can approve, something that fits with them optically, with optical math. Then we can take that and we can turn around prototypes very, very quickly for them. And we actually get paid for that process. So I think we talked the other day about last year we had companies paying us just to do those optical designs that they can then start to think about what are the trade-offs that they're dealing with as far as trying to take a product to market. These are consumer products, okay? The next part of that, which doesn't exist anywhere on the planet, is that Vuzix then can take those optical designs and actually turn them into manufacturing and pull the trigger on pre-manufacturing and manufacturing. And so we can do this very fast. Other companies that are optical design houses, usually how it's set up is there's an optical design house, they're then outsourcing to try to create the waveguides, and then once they've created those waveguides, then they try to find somebody who's going to manufacture it. And those processes they tend to be very, very closely tied with the tool itself, right? So that's what's exciting about this investment that we've all made, that you've all made actually, in that manufacturing facility over there, that is going to help the company scale to reach price points that aren't even achievable in Asia. This isn't an Asia thing, right? It's not a cost of goods sold can be done cheaper overseas. It's actually tying the optical design to the manufacturing. That's why the market hasn't happened. That's why. Because no company has achieved that where you're tying all those things together into one system, optical system. The next part of what Vuzix can do, which is quite amazing, is that we can integrate the projection system, right, with the waveguide itself. And the result is, what we'll talk about in a little bit, is these ultralight designs as a reference platform that we announced at CES. So this is what is going to make the company, I think, a catalyst is going to help us break to the next level with what's happening now. Have you seen, you heard this announcement that our friends in Cupertino made, where they have now come out with this Vision Pro, right? That's actually one of the best things that could have happened for our company. Because really what's happening is, even though it's super high end, it's trying to be the all singing, all dancing, XR, VR, AR, they're actually making a statement that the market is ready for prime time. If you remember when they first came out with the watch, everybody said, oh, so what's it going to be for? How's it going to be used? They actually sold 3 million of those watches in the first quarter that thing came out. So just watch what's going to happen now as we jump from the phone to the watch to the eye. This is the next generation of what's going to happen in our industry. And I don't know any other company you can invest in to take advantage of that opportunity. Okay. Next one, Paul. So how that optimization and that optical design system was created was Vuzix is one of the pioneers in the defense industry. So it's not just one type of solution. It's very, very different types of solutions for the defense industry. It could be for the eye, or could be for a heads-up display. It could be for a targeting system. All these systems use optical math to optimize their performance for whatever the use case is. That's what happens here. Taking those optical designs and then turning around prototypes that they can test and put into the system is what's attractive. So the selling cycle is, they tell us the use case, they tell us what they're trying to accomplish optically. We then come back with designs and reference designs and proposals around that. They then come back with feedback. Then they pull the trigger and they pay us to do prototyping, so we can do really fast prototyping here that they can't get anywhere else. It's a one-stop shop. So the early adopters of this is defense. The second area is enterprise. So sometimes enterprise customers don't want to just use the M400 or the M4000 or something off the shelf. They may want to have something for whatever the particular use case is that's more optimized for that system. Like, should the same for surgical application, should that be the same system as a more heavy duty type system you might use in a warehouse or pick and pack? Probably not, right? Optically doesn't match. Even though we have a reference design, we can sell them today on the M400 and M4000, soon to be M500 or whatever, that that's our way that we penetrate and support the customer that then comes to the place where they tell us that they want something optimized for their use case. So that's how we drive the enterprise and OEM. The third is consumer. So think of this. There are many applications, especially in sports, where I don't want to have the data on my watch, and I particularly don't want to have the data on my phone. You know, I think these guys probably get sick of me talking about it, but when we're doing bike riding in a group of 20 people, when we stop, nobody goes to drink water. Nobody. They all reach for their phones. First thing they do is they go check their phones. What were the notifications? What were the data on their ride? What was the specific information that they were getting from their ride, their performance data, et cetera? Wouldn't it be so much better and safer that instead of having that data on the watch or on the phone, because usually they tuck the phones back here, wouldn't it be better to have it on the eye? And that's exactly what Vuzix is unlocking for our consumer partners right now. And it's simple data. This isn't this whole rich VR world where we're painting the world to be some kind of virtual reality environment. It's basic data to the eye that you can imagine that today you have on your phone. I mean, on the phone and on the watch. Okay, that's the market. So as our friends at Cupertino are coming down from the top here, we're coming up from the bottom. Simple data displays that are working off the core device. I don't have to have all the components of that system on my eye because I've got my phone anyhow, and I've got my watch anyhow. So bridging and split, they call it split compute, splitting the compute from the watch to the eye is what's happening. That's what's going to market now. We're in the best position to take advantage of that. One, we can do all the designs here in-house. Two, we can do the full integration and give them a turnkey component based on this reference design that we announced this year. And then three, our price point, as Paul unfortunately leaked, is very low. Sorry, I always give him a joke about this, but we can do it cheaper than anybody else, and it's unheard of. You don't have to go to someplace halfway around the world to make these things. And so that's a super exciting opportunity for us to just, there's nobody else doing this. So I think it gives, as an early penetrator of the market, we've got a first mover advantage, no question. And there's a bunch of, this is just all going on all the time. So if you were here watching, there was just constant revs of proposals around optical designs happening here internally. Again, one-stop shop. So we've got all the components. We've got the waveguide production that we can do here in-house, the design. We've got turnkey optical solutions that combine those things together, right? So it's an integration. And then third, we've got the display engines with the investment made by the company into micro LEDs for the future. We've got the ability to integrate RGB into those systems. So think about really the first generation RGB. It's not the painted world you see on your 10K TV or 4K TV, sorry. It's basically different colors of different images on different pieces of data that you want to see. That's what's coming to market. That's what they're all going to do. I can name them. Mr. Search Engine, Mr. Social Media Company, Mr. Chat Company. That's really what they're doing. Very simple RGB applications are what's going to happen next year. And we're in a perfect position to kill the market on that because nobody else has what we have. So one-stop shop's a big message here. That's where your money went as investors. And that's why I'm here. And made in the US, that's another big thing, big part of it. Okay? We announced a couple weeks ago a partnership with Materialize. What they give us is the ability to do fast prototyping and scaled 3D manufacturing. So if we have turns out, I didn't know this, that the glasses you use for running are different than the glasses you would use for bicycling. So with our partnership with Materialize, we can do an optimized design for the customer based on that use case. So they have the ability to turn around optical designs. We can change the shape of the lens. We can change the shape of the waveguide, the positioning of the waveguide, positioning of the information, depending on what the customer wants. That's why we announced that partnership. So we can take the manufacturing process cycle down just on the glasses piece from 18 months to 3 months. That's like huge. As a business development person, I think I was talking to another business development guy. Unless you've got something where you've got a cycle that you can get involved with them, and something for 18 months, they're not going to be able to make a decision or pull the trigger on a consumer product. So that's why we did that, announced that relationship. And we're having a full integration with them here on site. Okay? And that also, by the way, helps us with parties that are fashion parties. It opens up the ability to address customers that don't have a dog in the AR, VR fight. They may just have a brand. And they want to use that brand, and they may do something that's an application that might be running on a watch. And they want to use that application to put that on the eye, and they want to have their brand stylized for their particular industrial design. Okay, so effectively, that's the power of what we're doing with those guys. So we've got, for other partners, we've got glasses ready to go. We're producing these, Pete's, we're manufacturing these, we're scaling up the manufacturing. I don't know how many thousands we're going to make this year, but it's happening. So we can co-brand and white label the ones that we've got now, that we're producing now. They're super power efficient, this platform, so it's very light. If you guys need to make sure you try it, we're talking about something that's 30 plus grams in weight. Very similar to regular glasses, actually lighter in some cases. Long battery life, this is a big key. So I don't know if you remember the first watch came out, and it was like, what I hated about it was you had to charge the dang thing all the time. Beauty of this, it's got a 2-day battery life, which is massive, right? Then you've got fast tracked for solutions to get into production, which is what I've already talked about. And it's a blueprint for things that people are doing in that nobody's been doing in smart glasses so far. Everyone's trying to make it too complex. So what we're doing is we're moving our way up. So next year, you're going to see RGB on these glasses. Am I announcing something I shouldn't? It's going to have integrated microphone, integrated camera, and it's going to start to move up the value chain as we start to have that full integration with our partners.
Talk about me having a big mouth.
I didn't price it out. I'm in business development. You don't price it. Anyhow, fine. All right, good. What else? Am I talking too long?
No, you're fine.
Okay. Anyhow, this is it. So the breakdown of these glasses is right here. Every one of the components in here, we supply to the customer. So they don't have to go anywhere else for this. That's what's exciting. That's why I'm here. That's why you should be happy you're investors, because this is the place to be. If I'm here, it's correct.
Terrible picture. Okay, next slide. Thank you very much. That's my only slide. Oh, I'm driving. Got it. Perfect. All of us in the Movian family are very proud, very privileged. We feel very lucky to be a part of the Vuzix family. So I speak for Yaji, MD, Robbie. They're not here with me today, but anything we're accomplishing, the principals have put it together. Just a quick backdrop here. Every large organization, I don't care what you are, if you're a school system, if you're an aerospace manufacturer, if you're a fertilizer manufacturer, somewhere you've got a warehouse, you've got a supply chain, you've got people in steel-tipped boots, right, who are working that warehouse. We think of the warehouse, it's a tough place to be, et cetera. It's the lungs of that organization. And sooner or later, it comes down to people. People will have to do something. They'll have to pick. Even if we've got robots in that warehouse, they're going to take care of the robots. They're going to do some of the hard to pick items, right? The robot's not going to be able to pick up rotor blades, right? Human beings going to go in there. Every one of these organizations has a big back-end system, whether it's Oracle, SAP, Infor Systems, Manhattan Associates, you name it. Those guys are the gospel truth of what my supply on hand looks like. If you don't take care of those people and give them tools they can use, the gospel won't reflect reality, right? So every warehouse for us, we focus on trying to solve the pressing problems, right? In those warehouses, tons of iron, equipment, people drop stuff. Do you think you're going to have Wi-Fi all the time? You don't. Warehouses run 3 shifts, 24/7, right? So when you're running 24/7 and it's Saturday night and you're patching your back-end ERP platform, you're down for 4 hours. That's half a shift. We run offline, no connectivity to the ERP. We still run on these devices because each one of our devices is 100% offline, built into the solution. Staff know when you don't care about them. You give them a bunch of clicks to use here, and then you give them a hard time about their productivity, they're going to stop using this, right? We go into warehouses, and we see them. These are large Fortune 500 firms. They've got their solutions on the shelf, and they went back to paper, right? Nodding your head. Another thing, so you got to love your frontline staff. You got to give them tools because you speak to them when you give them something that they can't use, right? If they can't use it, they're not going to be productive. So we focus not just on adoption, but can we make you faster? How do you make somebody faster? Don't make them look at the screen, right? Just let them scan next, 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 next. We see people who use our software, blows us away. They're literally rapid scanning 100 bolts, faster than you can count them. No visibility into the shop floor. Every warehouse is the last in line for the corporate dashboard, right? So you got guys who are running supply chain. Marketing goes first, finance goes first, nothing against that. Then marketing, and then, sort of your manufacturing operations, et cetera. And then the last guys with the last ticket are running the warehouse. And they get a solution for them that's, at best 24 hours old. And they're supposed to use that information to make their quota at end of shift. Doesn't work. So for us, we have real-time visibility. How real-time? We can set logging down to 60 seconds, and we give the guy that's running or the gal that's running the warehouse what you look like right now, 1 minute ago. Long project lead times, we have a studio. Our studio allows us to configure solutions quicker. So if somebody else will take 6 months, they'll write you custom software, they'll connect to your back end. We can probably do it in a week. This is what we like to think of, before this, there was paper. And everybody said, nobody's going to leave pick tickets and go to this, right? Everybody's like, oh, no, pick tickets are here forever. We're never going to go to the handheld device. We're on handhelds today. We work with ruggedized platforms, et cetera. But we think, like Paul, Pete will tell us, Mike has already told us, the future is worn, right? The next generation, you can't do this in a shop floor and stay off workers' comp very long, right? So you need something that is pervasive, but not in the way. So we see the future as worn. We are working with one of our bedrock clients to actually implement our first solution on the M400 framework, and that's for packing. So you've got a large packing use case, you need both hands, and what you don't want somebody to do is do some work over here, I'm packing something, let me go back to my computer, enter something over there, let me come back over here. Anyway, for us, we see worn computing as the future of heavy industrial computing. One thing I mentioned very quickly is offline. We think this is part of what makes us unique. Every single solution we deploy is 100% offline. If the Wi-Fi is down, if for whatever reason we've got the back-end system is down, right? You can still perform your tasks. The battery on handheld devices today, Pete and I were at one of our clients, it'll run easily 2 days. So we can support you for 2 days of work and never connect you to the ERP platform. If you want to drop it in the cradle and charge, we can sync up. If that back-end platform is down, we're still okay, right? Where does that work? If you've been to a shipyard lately, they don't measure their stock room in square feet, they measure it in square miles. And then this is just a picture of our high-level solution architecture. I'm very comfortable in this world, so I'm not going to spend too much time on this slide. We have a back-end gateway today. We connect with SAP. Why SAP? Because all of the big guys run SAP on their back end. We're targeting Oracle for end of this year, beginning of next year. But our back-end server is an enterprise license, as Paul has alluded. That allows us to charge on a recurring basis for our back-end license. These devices, we call these Edge. They run solutions on them, warehouse, inventory management, work order management, quality, et cetera. Each one of those modules is also a license. It is per location. So if you're running warehouse management at a location, that warehouse has an annual license that they subscribe to the software that runs on this device. What we've also learned is the frontline staff love us, but we also want to expose to the management of that organization what's going on in their warehouse. It also makes clear to the VP of supply chain when they're running our insights dashboard that we're there in their organization, fight for us for budget time. So it's just part of what makes us sticky. Anyway, once again, We are thrilled to be a part of the family, and thank you, Paul, very much.
Can you hear me? Fantastic. So my first comment is we're going to have to update my picture. First, good morning, everyone. I hope you've enjoyed the show so far. I think these guys are pretty impressive. Part of my role at Vuzix is to make sure that we're staffed appropriately. So I take credit for these guys almost every day. So. Okay, so good morning. It's a great pleasure for me to be here. I joined the company roughly a little over 2 years ago, right in the height of the pandemic. So opportunities like this were super far between, right? So it's great for me to be here. It's great to see shareholders here and do the interaction live. It's fantastic. So Paul, I guess I'm going to do this myself. So Paul asked if I could spend just a little bit of time talking about my background. What brought me to Vuzix? Give you a sense of who I am, and and we've touched a little bit on this, particularly with Mike's presentation, around what was the draw of joining the team. I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about the operational areas that we focused on over the last 12 to 24 months and some of the progress we've made and why we focused on those areas. And then finally, to the extent that I'm allowed, I'm going to talk a little bit about goals and what to expect as we move forward from an operational perspective. Okay, so I'll see if I can do this quickly. A little bit of my background. So I started as an engineer. I had lots of roles in product management and marketing over the years. But my core is really to build businesses and organizations at the intersection of technical innovation, high growth early markets, and operational execution, right? So that's been the theme of mine for the last 25 years or so. From a background perspective, I was a Kodak executive for a number of years. I had the great fortune to work with some amazing people, right? And the rare opportunity in a Fortune 100 company to build, focus, scale, and manage new digital imaging businesses, right? I did that for basically 20 years inside the company. Some of those you probably are familiar with, both professional and consumer digital cameras, professional digital capture, which is scanning systems, all the way through digital SLRs to devices and display products. I lived in Europe for a number of years and ran the professional commercial imaging business in Europe, Africa, and the Middle East. I ended up leaving Kodak in the 2010 timeframe, moved to California, became the chief operating officer of Austria Health Design Group. Some of you who have been around for a long time, we talked a little bit last night. You might know that company is ODG. A lot of parallels to Vuzix. Early pioneer in head-worn computing and AR glasses. A focus on developing innovative technologies and products and bringing generations of them to the early marketplace. Really close working relationships with enterprise customers and DoD customers in many of the same applications and areas that Paul and the team has been working on for years. Some very interesting interactions on the consumer side with folks that were leaning far forward, mainly telcos, as they were trying to figure out the interaction between AR, 5G, and AI. Super fascinating time in the industry. After almost a decade there, and after a couple of very interesting transactions, I moved back to Rochester. Yes, I kept a house here. Spent a little bit of time working with a fantastic technology company, OLED Works. OLED technology, the two of the founders actually invented that technology. I worked with them to help them structure and start their microdisplays business when Paul called me up and asked me if I wanted to get back in the AR game. And now I'm standing here with y'all. Great decision, by the way. And so, one of the questions is, why did I answer that call, right? What was the what was the motivation for me to join? So I think that boils down to a couple of very simple elements. Number one, the market opportunity. So I won't go into any detail. I think Paul's waxed poetically about the market opportunity and what lies before us from an industry perspective. I will tell you that I spent almost 10 years on the front lines of that industry, working with customers, understanding the opportunities. And it's clear, it was clear for me then, it's clear now, that it's going to have a huge impact in the way enterprise gets work done, right? And on the consumer side, it's also super clear that it's going to have a huge impact on how consumers interact with digital content and the real world, right? That was, it was intriguing at the time. It's even more intriguing now. So that was the first reason I wanted to join up. Second reason is look at the core competencies and the capabilities of the company that Paul and Grant and the team have built over the years, right? I mean, Paul talks about it all the time. You guys have heard it a lot. But from an old product guy like me, who's been in multiple industries, generated millions of units in scale, billions of dollars in business, it's pretty impressive, right? So if you look at the number of products, right, the leadership in the category, the length of time that they've been delivering commercialized products into the marketplace, the continuity of the team that's done that, right? The deep AR experience that's corporately spread across the organization. You don't see that in this industry today, particularly given some of the changes of late. And then, I think Mike did a great job of painting this picture. You combine that asset with the ownership of fundamental waveguide technology and replication processes, right? That's fundamental to scaling this industry as a whole. You combine those two assets today and you have a singular opportunity, right? There isn't another company in the industry that I can think of anywhere in the world that has that combination of assets, right? So, and then finally, okay, it's the people, right? Paul's a good guy, Grant's fun. Really, when you look across the organization, right? Seriously, you know, these two guys who have been around, I love the applause, by the way, fantastic, right? Because, you know, having been on both the corporate side and the startup side, this is an amazing feat. And then you look at the folks that are in development and delivery and the folks that have worked in the market and interface with the customers. You know, what you find is a group of passionate, bright, focused individuals that want to make a difference in the industry, right? So, I mean, what's not to love about that, right? So that was a motivating factor for me. I wanted to be a part of that. And I will tell you, candidly, 2+ years in, I haven't been disappointed. And if anything, some things have actually surprised me. So, okay. So let's move on to some of the more mundane things, right? So these guys get to all talk about, you know, opportunities and big numbers and how cool the future is. Okay, so I got to pave the road, okay? That's okay, it's super fun. So what I want to talk about really quickly is just a handful of areas on the operational elements of the business that we focused on over the last 12 to 24 months and some of the progress that we've made in those areas that really is going to help us leverage the assets that this company has built over the last 20+ years to marshal those assets against the marketing opportunity that's clearly in front of us, okay? And this is just a start. I got a long list. They told me I only had 15 minutes to talk, so I tried to summarize as much as possible. So I'm going to start and talk a little bit about the market-facing part of the company, and then we'll talk about the back end, the delivery and development, and some strategic investments, which mostly have been covered at this point. So let's start with the sales organization. We have extended our go-to-market model, and Paul talked about this and touched on it as well. We are starting to sign up aggressively value-added distributors and resellers to help us reach this market, right? So at this stage of the game, it's a very diverse place, both geographically, from an industry perspective, and from a use case perspective. It's impossible for a small company like Vuzix to go and service all those opportunities and close those sales. We need terrific partners on the sales side to make that happen. And I think, you know, you guys have heard about some PR, right? I think we actually did one yesterday with the Ask Corporation. a phenomenal partner that's going to really open up Japan for us. And they're going to be a big part of our revenue this year. We did Mace earlier, we did West Base in Europe, and you're going to see more and more in that. I'll touch on it. So we've expanded our market channels. Leadership. We hired a phenomenal guy about 18 months ago to help marshal our efforts around this expanded channel push of ours. He's done a fantastic job. And then just recently, we hired a global head of sales, right, to really help us from a sales strategy, from a process, hiring the right talent, right? And Bill Beltz, we expect to get big dividends from Bill over the next months, years to come. I think, Paul, you mentioned that we stood up Vuzix Japan and Vuzix Europe. Key activities for us to help us embed the Vuzix brand and into those local markets. There's also some financial benefits of setting up that way. And then I'm not going to talk about OEM very much from a sales perspective. I mean, I think these guys have handled that pretty well. I will tell you that obviously based on everything that you've heard and the opportunity that is before us, that's a big deal. We've got renewed focus on both the DoD side and the commercial side. It's exciting future, as Mike has mentioned, and Paul. Okay, so just a snapshot of some of the activities on the sales side. Marketing. We actually have a dedicated marketing department, right? So we created that to manage our marketing mix and our brand around the world in a very consistent, leveraged way, right? And that includes every touch point with consumers, right? With partners and with you guys, right? From a market perspective, right? So that's actually starting to go exceptionally well. Hopefully, you guys have experienced the work that we've done online. So we totally changed our online experience, both in the US, North America, in Europe, and in Asia. So hopefully you guys have looked at that new experience. The underlying infrastructure that we put in place is a fraction of the cost, super flexible, allows us to respond to the marketplace with new communications message overnight. We totally re-engineered the online buying experience. So if you guys have bought anything from us recently, right, that whole experience is new. I think we're up to 34 languages from a translation perspective. That's Adam. He runs the marketing group. Hi, Adam. And up to 165 currencies that we support. I think that's right. And then a little bit more strategic long-term changes is that you guys, some of you have been long-term investors, and the communications to the marketplace traditionally have been around product, right? They've been around feeds and speeds, right? Technical specifications. We're turning that ship, right? We're starting to turn more and more to market segmentations. What industries are we going to target? What's the value proposition, right? How do we work with other partners to bring whole product solutions to the marketplace so there's a clear return on investment for our end customers, right? And so we're starting to see that and the digital advertising that we put into the marketplace. That's generated a whole new set of leads and contacts, which we actually put up and started to feed the front end of our sales funnel. So that interaction between marketing and sales is now starting to get super tight, right? And we'll pay big dividends as we move forward. Okay. I'm going to move on to the other side of the company, right? The development and delivery side. So development, these guys are super productive. We are re-engineering our commercialization process. And, I'm an old product guy, so I've done this for a long time. And, we're putting a new process in place that actually goes from the customer and their feedback through ideation, through the engineering and manufacturing, and all the way out into the market, right? We need to tie those ends together. And it's already started to pay dividends in scalability, right? Visibility, dependability of trying to get these new products and technologies into the marketplace. And how many of you guys have had demos today? Seen the products? Yeah? So hopefully, you're aware of all the products that our development team and manufacturing organization put into the market. M400C, Shield, Blade 2, ultralight platform that Mike was talking about and is actually wearing on his head. I was going to do that, by the way. We've put software into the marketplace, software updates, operating systems that make our customers and our ISV partners more secure, right? And generate more value for them. We've kicked off an effort to really focus on manufacturability, particularly around the M system or the M series products and robustness. I think Paul mentioned the 24/7 use cases, right? So you put a piece of equipment, and I think Philip talked about it too. You take a piece of equipment and you put it into an environment, in an industrial logistics environment, and warehousing, right? They're using these things 24/7, right? So we focused on robustness, right? And we focused on being able to manufacture at scale so that we can meet the growing demand. I wish you would.
There is not, to my knowledge, another company that has their products being used 24/7. And boy, do you learn a lot about what works and what doesn't and what needs to be improved. And none of these other companies are getting that benefit, whereas Vuzix is. So you can just imagine what the next generation of our products, having that feedback of this thing and that thing. And I mean, running 24/7, they're taking a beating.
They are. It is amazing, the use cases that are starting to spring up. I'm sorry, I'm gonna bring that back to an operational process issue, right? So, think about that feedback, which is very unique in the marketplace, and pouring that learnings into the front end of a very efficient commercialization cycle, right? I mean, that's what this is all about from a delivery perspective. And then the last thing I'll touch on in the development area is, IP, patents, always a favorite topic of ours. So we've re-engineered that process. We've made it much more effective, much less cost burdensome. I think, we've cut the year-over-year cost by somewhere between 25 and 30% to generate patents. And we've also updated the rate. And over the last 24 months, we've filed 129 patents, right? That's an amazing number for a company this size, right? Delivery. So a lot of focus on scaled manufacturing of both the new products, right? All the products that you guys have tried and all the products that we've brought to market, as well as the increased demands of M400s and M4000s. So we've increased our capacity, and at the same time, we've dialed back our cost structure, right? So our cost to assemble these products is also dropping. We talked about the launch of the major platforms. Sorry, I did that. Sorry, we're talking delivery. Logistics, warehouses. So we've opened up new logistic partners and warehouses in Europe. You're also going to hear something about that in Asia in the coming weeks or so. So basically, new warehouses, new processes, and the goal there is to really help us manage our inventory, our cash that's deployed in that way, to increase our responsiveness to customers. We sell M400s, and they come in a number of different configurations, right? Some of them come with glasses or a headband or different batteries. We're taking that configuration management and we're moving it into the market closer to the customer. It makes us much more dependable and responsive as a supplier. I'm not going to spend a lot of time about ERP systems. I think you all heard about some of the disruptions in the supply chain coming out of the pandemic. We weren't immune to that, by the way, particularly for those products that were in commercialization, right? And we hadn't kicked off a real supply chain yet. But for the products that were in supply chain, we did a great job of managing that disruption. One of the reasons we did that is because we spent time hooking our ERP systems to our key suppliers on our manufacturing floor and our worldwide inventory locations, and actually to demand planning, right? So when you tie all those things together and you have visibility of that, you're in a great position to deal with disruptions and to deal with scale opportunities. And then I won't spend any more time talking about the facility across the parking lot. So I don't see Doug here, but I will tell you that thing will be up and operational in the third quarter. So the equipment that you saw in the staging area and the equipment that you likely saw on the assembly floor, that will be moved across, right? We'll have power in, and that thing will start to come online in the next quarter, right? That's going to be a boon to the OEM business and actually to our products business as well. And then from a strategic perspective, you guys heard a lot about this. Obviously, we're going to continue to invest in the core competency and the competitive position that we have with waveguides, both from a performance perspective and actually from a replication and manufacturing perspective as well, right? Driving yield, driving throughput, getting our cost and capacity up in the marketplace. I think Mike did a great job of talking about it. This is a one-stop shop. You can come to us and we'll design it, prototype it, and deliver it to you in one step. That's a huge capability. We're going to continue to invest in that. We talked about Atomistic a little bit. This is a disruptive material science play in microdisplays that will pay dividends and have an impact, fundamental impact, not only on Vuzix, but we think the industry over the coming years. And then finally, Movion, it's great to have Philip here. So that obviously that acquisition is closed. These guys are stood up as a subsidiary, as we talked about. They've done a great job in expanding their offering. And Philip and I were just at a customer, a huge aerospace manufacturer, and I got a chance to see them use it. I sat with the team. We talked about opportunities for improvement. They're super excited about what it's doing and the value that it's having on how they do their work. And I'm telling you, you go and you sit with customers and you're walking around the shop floor and you're looking at inventory and you're watching them use that product and how enthused they are with it. Super cool. So this will be a big opportunity for us as we move forward. And then I know we're over a little bit. So directionality. What's the goals for the broader operational side of the company, and what to expect in the short term? I'm not going to say anything that's going to get anybody in trouble. So, for our side of the business, for the operational elements, whether that's sales and marketing, whether that's development of technology and products, whether that's the delivery and support of those things, this is all about driving efficient scale, right? We're all here because there's a huge opportunity, right? And we need to exercise against it with the assets that we have and drive super profitable growth. So that's what this is all about. Okay, pretty obvious what to expect in the short term. On the go-to-market side, sales, marketing, messages, I think what you should expect is targeted expansion, right? Targeted expansions around key industries and key use cases, communicating and delivering whole product solutions, right? Either from Vuzix ourselves or in close partnership with our ISV partners. Paul mentioned TeamViewer, fantastic example of an external partner that we're working with. There are many others. You will see us expand geographically. You will see us expand from a partnership perspective on the channel side, right? And that's all to extend our reach and actually take advantage of the sales opportunities that are out there. We already talked about OEM developments. The only comment that I will have here is that, and Mike touched on it, which is super unusual in the industry, the ability to do system design engineering from an OEM perspective, not just the optical system, but the whole glasses system. To be able to do that and then turn around from a manufacturing perspective, it's very, very rare. We can do it on the component level, but we can also do it on the systems level. Expect to see more of that from an NRE and services as we move forward, both on the DoD side and on the commercial side. Right, Adam? Okay. And then from a capability perspective, on the delivery and manufacturing perspective, this facility is going to have a big impact on the business, right? Our ability to sell, to close revenue. The other thing that it's going to do is it's going to free up space and capacity out on the assembly floor here so we can make and sell more products as well, right? So expect expect to hear more about that and see the results of it. And then finally, we talked about the technology investments areas. Those are all super important for that next step in the company evolution. Okay, so that's it for me. Thanks.
Q&A.
I'm gonna sit in the back.
Well, I think we're at that part for Q&A. We got any, Ed? No, it might be.
Okay, everybody? All right. I'll just paraphrase these.
If they're hard, nix them.
All of these questions are questions we have basically gotten before in many cases. Maybe not this one. Has the board entertained any discussions of a potential merger with Kopin, as this investor believes it could create a compelling patent moat in the wearables?
Now, that would be an impossible question for the board to answer, quite frankly. We can't, sorry. I will tell you that the board has an open mind about many things around the world today, and there was no way we could get into specific discussions around Kopin or anybody else, quite frankly.
Okay, question 2. In terms of all the patents we have, does Vuzix have a process where we monitor and considering how to enforce patent infringement?
We do look at the products in the market that ship. When people are making demos and prototypes, which is where much of the industry is today, it doesn't make a whole lot of difference because they're not actually commercializing on the product. We have intellectual property counsel here at the company, Corey, which if anybody does any work with Vuzix on the intellectual property side, I'm sure they love the guy. He does a great job. He looks at those things. He looks at other patents. He looks at other companies that are patenting around the space, and he helps us to determine the whole patent strategy that we're doing at Vuzix. And we have some tools and some new tools that we're looking at buying that will help us even do a better job at not just policing, but understanding the value, understanding where the holes are in the marketplace and where more thought should get put to capitalize and build on more intellectual properties.
Okay. This is not a unique question, and you can answer this to any degree we're comfortable. But looking at revenue levels, revenue growth, gross margin progression, expense structure, when should investors expect Vuzix to become profitable?
Look, profits are important to the company. There's no doubt about it. But we're also in a position to where it's important to win this race. There's a lot of companies out there that are big dogs that are trying to be the first guys. They're not. They failed to get there, but the investments that we're making today, which are really important to build the infrastructure to make sure that we're not sitting in the ditch in the backside of this, is important. So we have to spend money to make sure that we stay ahead of that curve. That said, the reason why guys like Pete Jamison are here are to make sure that our operations are being as efficient as possible, that we're not spending money where we don't need to spend money, with a focus ultimately on making money at the company. I will also tell you that as our revenues are growing, and you get the sense of that, I hope, that the revenues are growing at Vuzix, the burn rates are going down. You'll see that continue to be the case, knock on wood. And an ultimate goal is to get Vuzix profitable.
Okay. This question makes me happy. I love investors that read our SEC filings and every year, and this investor does. And he noticed in prior commentary in 10Ks, we've discussed laser-based display engines, holographic waveguide research, and he did not see much about that in our latest 10K. Are these still areas of development?
So on the tour today, I didn't get a lot of time actually to introduce this extra part. Brian, he's not here. This afternoon, or shortly here, I don't have a whole lot of time left, but our laser lab is open. And we've got some stuff that we're showing in there that's really cool. There's no doubt that holographic optics and the likes are definitely at least on our roadmap to consider when it's finally right, putting it in the product mix. But I will tell you that most laser holographic optic systems have lots of challenges just yet. That said, we're doing some really cool stuff here at Vuzix still, And it's part of the research and development side of our effort. And I would say to everybody here that before you cross the road, if you get a chance, stop by Brian. He should be out front this afternoon. And the laser lab is open. He's got an eye-safe demo that he's running in there to give you guys a feel for some of the stuff. He won't say very much about what it all does and means, but he'll at least give you a feel for some of the lab stuff and the things that we're trying to do there.
Okay, and lastly, would you like to say anything about combating naked shorting of our stock?
Combating it. Well, the best way to win against a short is to deliver as a company. I know there's all kinds of other things people talk about and methodologies of making a special dividends and all these other things. And when you really dig under the rocks, in the end, the way you win is to deliver. And that's what Vuzix is going to do. We're going to deliver. I would also say sometimes these guys get aggressive and they do things that are against the law. Vuzix will protect itself from those things. We've been down this road in the past. When people file false documents on top of a short attack, we don't take kindly to that. Play fair, we're good with that. And what Vuzix is going to do is just deliver.
Okay, that's it for the online questions.
Anybody else here have some questions? Yes.
Paul, do you foresee any stock dilutions in the next few years?
We have no intentions. We don't need to raise money right now. It's not on. I will tell you though, strategic partnerships that might come with investments, but because there's other things that also come to the table that could be in the cards. I mean, a public offering at this point in time, we're not even considering that. But I think the strategic relationships are important for Vuzix to foster for all of us. They would most likely be accretive and add value just because we did them, quite frankly.
I mean, your last one was very successful. It gave you really money,
We're up against folks spending billions and billions of dollars here.
Right.
You can't, we're David and Goliath. We're definitely the little guy in all of that, but you do need to have a minimum amount of capacity to get stuff done. And I must admit, I think it was a good financing for the company. I agree. Thank you.
You mentioned in the past IP on scripts and glasses.
Yes.
The ultralights, I assume you can embed the IP, the scripts in the lenses. And are you able to do transition lenses as well? Could you give some color on that?
You can implement, Andy, almost anything. You could implement near eye correction with a different distance eye correction. Hard to get into the whole details because we've filed the patents, so they're pending. I can't get into the whole, but the idea is a monolithic gizmo in the end that is a video script. It's got the grading structures and the waveguide embedded in this thing that looks like a conventional prescription that you would put in anybody's glasses. With that, you can make umpteen different kinds and different SKUs of fashion branded glasses that look sexy, stuff that people wear. Pete's point earlier, our friends in Cupertino are really building this super high-end thing, super expensive. It's not the sweet spot of the market. Right now, there's millions of people riding bikes in Asia, motorbike guys. None of those guys will wear the Cupertino thing to perform those functions. But if you can put the scripts in the glasses and offer different brands and have different looks and feels, and you don't have to pull your phone out and go like this while you're driving your motorcycle for the directions to get down the street, there's huge wins, and it's in multi-million unit markets. That's the focus, and that's why we put that script together. You can't just say, here's a pair of glasses, like they look great on Mike, but when Mike puts his reading glasses on, which I don't even know if he wears them, you look like a box of rocks because you got two sets of glasses. You have to integrate it in. It fundamentally has to be part of the play, which is why we filed for some intellectual properties around that piece of it. And we think it's going to be very strategic over the next couple years. Anybody else?
At what point do you think the technology would be ready to do a retail consumer deal, whether it's white label, whatever, with a firm like Warby Parker? I emphasize like Warby Parker because of the scale, their local strategy.
The interesting thing at the Consumer Electronics Show, if you go in our little library, or what is it, the museum over there, in the front, you see there's like awards over the last umpteen years of going to the Consumer Electronics Show. And in all these years, I have never had a fashion brand come into our booth and say, I think we could put our name on this. It was only this year with the ultralight that we got that kind of response. And it's the Warbies, the Luxotticas, the Fieldmans of the world, it was a very interesting list of companies that just were like, and you might imagine, we're talking to a lot of folks. Mike mentioned that the discussions around Dolly, and there's more than one fashion brand that has that interest. And I believe that in 2024, you'll be seeing that happen. You might even see some white labels with some brands that are well-known, maybe, knock on wood, that just get started before the end of this year.
So are you also working, are your glasses out there for trade as well when there are shipments that come in overseas, or when there are U.S. products being shipped overseas to verify that the supplies are in?
Not exactly sure I understand the question. Can you?
When U.S. Producers send goods or products overseas, are your glasses there at the port to verify the shipments?
There are some people that are looking at that, not for the products at this point, for some inspection, grains, kinds of things. When the boat gets to shore, if it's actually got lots of mold in it, people don't want to buy the grain on the other side because it's like not good grain. And how do you inspect that and look at it? We have companies experimenting in those areas. Those are proof of concepts. We have some guys in the security side of it that are looking through security, people, facial recognition and those kinds of things. At this moment, I don't know of anybody that's using them for the confirmation of what's in the box and, getting through customs and those kinds of things. It's a great application area. And in fact, if you talked with Brian Callis and or some of the other folks here in sales, they might be able to tell you that this company, and literally we have thousands of inbound requests for a plethora of different kinds of applications. And I would hazard to guess that there's at least a few, maybe Art in the back there was shaking his head. He could tell you that in point of fact, there are folks that are looking in that space. Also with our new channel strategy, it's opening up so many new areas, new opportunities that Vuzix ultimately hears about it because there's requirements for communications between us and our channel strategy partners, okay? But every time I turn around, there's a new application that people are using it and they're out advertising it. And Vuzix usually puts press releases on these kinds of things, but they're starting to happen in so many different areas that we socialize it as best we can.
So part two, my question is also, are you looking at this in terms of some of the development that's going on in space as they're looking forward to building out in the moon or mission to Mars?
I'm not sure we'll put a manufacturing plant on the moon, but I will tell you that there's more than one company in the aerospace industry that are involved in that side of the business that are either working with Vuzix now or having some of our early products asking if we could customize them on an OEM sense to be used in those kinds of environments.
Thank you very much for all the presentation, Paul, first of all. Quick question, with the increasing use of OEM partners and these type of partners which are not directly within the Vuzix family, what efforts are you putting in place to keep communicating on a single message, that the message you want to communicate goes through the partners and stays true by the time it reaches the different targets all around the world?
I will say, first of all, that in some cases, folks want white labeled versions of our products or just derivatives of them. And in those cases, right now anyway, it's co-branded kinds of solutions we like to talk about. So Vuzix would be on there somewhere. So at least our brand recognition would be associated with that device. In some of the cases we have, though, we're supplying a component that's part of this thing that in some cases it's so complicated. Like our newest ability to make large format waveguides, by way of example. You can make a window, you know, like a 72-inch TV set that's a waveguide. It's this massive thing. So there's people that are putting them in systems that might be going in like aircraft, let's say. And in that case, you know, they got their mission, they got what they're trying to solve. Vuzix wouldn't be in that, like we wouldn't be part of the brand per se. We'd get a really nice revenue stream with really nice high margin off of delivering solutions that they couldn't get anywhere else. And that's the brand communications that Mike Lee makes sure happens at the level where it makes sense. But at some point in time, that customer's delivering a $300,000 solution that might go into an aircraft, and Vuzix is just a supplier. I don't know if that is Lewis.
Yeah, typical analogy is Intel Inside. You know,
Yeah. Yes.
Find some way of communicating with individual brands.
We're shooting for that every place that we can. There's some places where it's just not going to be able to be done. There's more than one place where there's Intel silicon in something that doesn't say Intel inside, but there's no doubt when it's forward facing and the street seeing it and the average Joes, then it's usually got an Intel inside logo. And that's the kind of thing, like I said, the white labeling and the custom versions of our ultralight platform, we want that Intel inside concept. Yes, it's powerful.
Hi, Paul. Lewis here. How involved is Jerry Wardle and Atomistic's progress with their micro LEDs, and when can we expect to hear more about their progress?
Can you say that first part again?
Yeah, how involved is Jerry Wardle and Atomistic's progress with their micro LEDs?
Yeah, Jerry's a brilliant person. He's got a long history of invention in the whole semiconductor space. I would suggest that there's probably not a device on the planet that has an LED in it that he doesn't have intellectual properties that he developed to make that happen. But he's part of a team. And his team actually, I think, have, as far as it's related to this, even more experience germane to the parts of this that we need. So there's no doubt Jerry's involved, but he's also got these other guys. I really wish I could say more, but it's hard to, frankly. He's a good contributor to it, super bright guy. And he's got guys around him that are, I think, at least in certain areas of this, even more experienced on how to get this to where we need it to be.
Thank you.
Could I follow up on that? So what do you think the timeline is for the IP being secured to a position where you can give us more market, more understanding as to the sheer value of this atomistic endeavor?
That is a wonderful question, Andy. And it's really, I know what everybody wants to know. They want to know more about this not insignificant investment Vuzix has made. I fully get that. We're working with the Atomistic team to try to come up with the best way to start communicating more about the path we're on and that value proposition it's going to bring. It's challenging because the last thing that we want to do is teach all these other guys racing to solve this problem, because there's a lot of money going into this thing, and we've got a very unique position in this regard. But it makes it hard to talk about just yet, because it's not just filing of IP, it's when that IP becomes cement and whether or not it's when it would get published to the world. And so we're trying to figure out other ways that we can, for instance, I would like to stand up a website that has some information about some of the cool capabilities, not necessarily giving away the secrets of the sauce, but to start to portray the strength that Atomistic has in their abilities to do this. But these are all things, Andy, that they're just going to take us some time to get through. I fully get it that everybody wants more communications around this. I want it to happen too. Pete does, as does the guys that are running Atomistic. We just got to figure out how to do it in a way that's not going to give away the secret sauce, which I am sure everybody in this room would agree with. Okay, well, let me reiterate, thank you very much for coming to Vuzix, taking the tour. I don't think anybody's got to see the other building yet. I think that would be great if you get a chance. Brian will probably be outside the laser lab. And if anybody would like to take a peek inside there to see some of the stuff going on, they'd be more than welcome to do that. Thanks, everybody.